Welcome to today's webinar presented by Supercoder.com. Supercoder.com is an online coding solution offering Part A and B coding reference tools, resources, and not more than 30 specialty coding and compliance newsletters from the Coding Institute in one site. I hope you enjoy this short session.
I think that's one of the most frustrating things, because when you put the fact that we do not have one set of rules, and yet we're held to a very high standard for this thing called compliance, and the assistant U.S. attorney can come into our office and the FBI can come into our office and indict our physicians on fraud, not only civil fraud, but criminal fraud. And that indictment is based on holding our practice, holding what we do, our practices in terms of coding and billing, to some standard. But what standard do they use? Because when they do these indictments, they're not just for Medicare and for Medicaid, they're for private payers too. But the private payers don't go by the same rules as Medicare, which is the one set of rules that we know we have published. They're the one set of rules that are on the Internet in the Internet-only manual. We know what the bundling is because we have the National Correct Coding Initiative. We know what the medical necessity rules are because we have the local carrier determinations on our carrier websites, and we have the national carrier determinations for things like labs. We know everything. There's a complete transparency for us. But we don't necessarily know all that for every payer. And although, by the way, a report just came out and a study came out by Frank Cohen that he just did a survey, and the National Health Insurers Report Card came out by the AMA, the level of transparency is getting better. I mean, if you compare those of us who did this job in the early 2000s, in the 90s, we knew nothing about our insurance company's rules, very little. We got a binder, which was never updated or barely ever updated. We occasionally got a piece of paper from them. We know a lot more, and there's a lot more transparency. But at the same time, we're having to manage a different set of rules for every different payer. So this is why we're here. And you know what? I'm singing to the choir. I know you all know this because this is why you're here. This is what we live with every day. And although it's very frustrating, I also know this is what challenges you. This is why you get up and go to work. And when you find something and you figure something out and you're able to get paid properly and you're able to code it properly and you figure out that nuance, that's what gets your motor running, because that's what we're all about. A little disclaimer on slide 4. This information's been researched, really researched. I've been doing this work for years and years and years. I really checked everything over and over again. But if you misunderstand something and use something incorrectly because you misinterpreted something that I said, neither myself or audio educator take any responsibility for it. I hope you giggled, because usually when I say this in front of a live audience, I get a nice giggle. It's just a little harder in an audio conference type mode because I can't hear anybody's responses or see anybody's responsibilities. So let's move on to slide 5. And this is sort of what I was talking about. What rules do we follow? Because what rules are we going to be held to when it comes to reimbursement, which is the lifeblood of our practices, when it comes to compliance, which is what we're expected to do, when it comes to if someone walks into our door and says, you have been fraudulent, what rules are we supposed to be following? Do we follow AMA? CPT has a set of rules, but those rules are incomplete. It has certain instructions. It tells us things like if you're doing a fine needle aspiration, additionally, with image guidance, it says additionally code the image guidance. So AMA gives us that information. So it gives us guidance, all right? Do we follow CMS's rules, which gives us a whole bunch of rules? AMA says, for example, in the beginning of your surgery section, it very specifically says that the global period of a surgery, of a major surgery or any surgery, does not include.
SuperCoder is the fastest growing online reference tool with more than 25,000 subscribers. Call 866-228-9252 to get a free product demo or sign up at supercoder.com for a 7-day free trial.